The Suicide Squad is written and directed by James Gunn, and it stars Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, Joel Kinnaman, John Cena, Viola Davis, Peter Capaldi, Daniela Melracho, Dave DeSmalchin, and of course, special cameos by Jai Courtney, Pete Davidson, Nathan Fillion, Flora Borg, Steve Odge, Mei Ling, and of course Taika Waititi. And the movie is a reboot of the 2016 Suicide Squad movie that was made by David Ayer. This time around is more of like it's a sequel, but it's kind of like G.I. Joe Retaliation. It's a sequel, but it's only a few people return from the first film. And it's more or less a movie that focuses on the characters in hand. For instance, it's like, okay, that movie happened, but we're not focusing on the continuation. We're just doing this as this happened, but we're focusing on a new story, new characters, everything. And I was fine with that. And I watched it with my aunt and uncle, and we really I enjoyed the movie. They did not like it as much because they really liked the first movie more, because they said I felt like it was more serious. And I really liked the first movie as well, but I feel like this movie was more made for me. Like, I understand that the criticism that they gave it, well, the first one was more realistic and serious. This one felt like more of a joke. Like, they were just playing around laughing about stuff that's, that's not funny. I thought it was funny and hilarious. I love watching that. And I was like, oh my god, this is funny. I was laughing so hard and enjoying myself with this. There was a couple of jokes that really made me laughing. In fact, I was chewing Skittles watching it, and I was laughing so hard I choked on my Skittles. I was like, this is so funny. And I will say this, I really enjoyed, Margot Robbie's portrayal as Harley Quinn. I'm a huge Harley Quinn fan. In fact, I'm wearing Harley Quinn shades right now because I love Margot Robbie so much as Harley Quinn. I like Harley Quinn. I've been loving it ever since Batman animated series, and I really enjoyed the one Suicide Squad cartoon they had, which was just called Suicide Squad Assault on Arkham, or Batman Assault on Arkham, is that what it's called? And I enjoyed that one with Suicide Squad. I haven't seen Suicide Squad Hell to Pay cartoon, but I have been a huge fan. I loved a lot of moments in the 2016 movie. I did not like the villains in the 2016 movie. I felt like Enchantress wasn't a great villain, and I did not like the CGI work they did there. But I did like, there's a lot of moments, especially all the Harley Quinn moments. I really like those, and I love all the Batman stuff, and I love Deadshot scenes, and I even love the Captain Boomerang scene with the Flash. That was so great in the 2016 movie, and I was saying that still. I watched that movie, and I will rewatch it because there's a lot of stuff I enjoy that movie. It's not my favorite Suicide. I think this one's a much better movie than the 2016 one. And in fact, while I was watching that movie, I was noticing things like there's a lot of humor in the movie that I really like. And what I'm going to say about this, what I really liked about the movie, there's a lot of humor. Some people will not get the humor because it's kind of like darker humor, but it's funny. To me, there was a joke where this guy, they're arguing about whether Weasel's a werewolf or not, and he's like, he's a weasel. He says, no, he's not a weasel. I mean, he's harmless. I mean, he's not harmless. He killed 27 children, and I was laughing hysterically. But some people are like, oh, it's not funny killing children. I mean, but it's a joke because it's a weasel, and I understood the joke, but some people wouldn't laugh at that joke. But I mean, there's some stuff that's kind of dumb, but it's funny, there's a shooting contest between Peacemaker and Bloodsport. Which Bloodsport, I really like Peacemaker. Peacemaker still the show a lot, and there's stuff in the movie that he does that at the end I don't really condone because I'm like, dude, come on, man, really? I really liked you up until this point, and then which hopefully in the Peacemaker show, if he lives at the end, they redeem him. But I really liked Bloodsport. I understand Will Smith could not do this movie, so they had to. So they were going to recast it with Idris Elba, who I really like. He's one of my second favorite actor of all time, and I love him in Obsession, 28 Weeks Later, Luther. I even like him in his run on the Office, arc on The Office. I even like him in, of course, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, The Losers, of which you've never seen. The Losers, it's on Netflix right now. It's a great DC movie. He plays such a good role in that movie. And I even love him in Obsession. Obsession is one of my top 10 movies of all time. And I really say, go watch Idris Elba. He's such a good actor. And when I heard that Will Smith was not coming back because of scheduling conflicts, I was so bummed because I really liked his Deadshot in the movie. But then when Idris Elba came in there, and I was so happy because I'm like, I love Idris Elba. He's my second favorite actor. And no disrespect to Will Smith. I really like Will Smith. I own most Will Smith movies. I own all the Men in Black movies. I own all the Bad Boys. And I love Will Smith. But I felt like, oh, Idris Elba, man, he's so good, and I will say this: there is Sorry. Sorry. Dry. I will say this: there is some stuff in the movie that I will feel like you probably won't like. Like there is a lot of violence in the movie and stuff, and there is some full frontal nudity that I feel like but the full frontal nudity in the male, there's a male and female nudity, but it's like blink and you miss it moments. You won't even see it. In fact, when someone was talking about they were offended by it in one review, or one person did a review on this movie that they said they were offended by it, and I was like, I've seen the movie. It's not really. It's a blink and you miss it. Like if you turn your head for like less than a second, you're gonna miss it. And it's like quick, fast pace where you won't even see it. And I'm like, really? But like, and also the violence. It's rated R. What do you expect? You know, I mean, if you can watch The Boys, you can see like that's much violent and more gorier and more nudity in that show than it is in this. I mean, in fact, this movie's actually really. It has a good story, and I will say the villain of it is really well made and well done. I mean, I feel like there are some things about the villain I like. Like, I feel like this felt like the Avengers. Like, we're in the first movie where, like, the Chitauri just show up and invade New York. It feels like that's what the third act is. Like, but it's with a giant starfish. And I really like that. And that's not a spoiler. That's in the trailers. And I will say that I really like that. And, you know, and there's some great stuff about it. And I will say all the characters have great arcs and motivations for being here. I will say, I'll get to it in a second. I will say, but all the characters have great motivations and everything. Like I will say, Peacemaker, you understood why he's doing this, and it's kind of like the unwilling hero, like the leader. He's like, I don't want to be the leader, and there are stuff that I feel like John Cena, Peacemaker, he's so patriotic, and he's like, I will do anything, and I'll kill anybody to do it. And I understood why he is the way he is, and even Ratcatcher 2 is so awesome. And I will say, the little rat she has with her is so adorable. And King Shark, Sylvester Stallone's King Shark is so great. He's so fun to watch. And you feel sorry for him, and like, you know, because he's so cute and so adorable. So you just want to watch. In fact, I have a King Shark shirt that I watched the movie with earlier, and I just washed it. It's in the washer now, so I would have wore it to do the review. And I will say, like, everybody, including Harley Quinn, even though Harley Quinn feels like she comes in the midway through, like, she has some stuff at the beginning, and then she kind of goes away for a while, and then she comes back in the midway through. I will say she's still great to watch and enjoy. And even the outlandish characters like Polka Dot Man. Which Polka Dot Man, I will say, at first I was not like, Polka Dot Man, really? And then you have Dave DeSmallchin who plays him, and you feel like, okay, first he's all emo, and I was like, come on, man, you gotta be so down and depressed. Then you see his whole backstory, and you really get to, like, you feel for this character, and I really feel like he was a good character. And I will say, there's a funny scene every time what he sees, what his mindset is so funny, because you're just like, hey, that's all he sees? Really? Really? Even there's a scene where he's like aroused and like by several beautiful women, and he still sees this one thing, and I'm like, are you kidding me, bro? Like, dude, there's something seriously wrong with you, man. Like, I'm just like, really? Like, I did not need to see this. Like, I mean, and there's a lot of humor like that. Like, John Cena, there's this thing where he's in nothing but tighty whities, and everyone's like, why are you naked? And he goes, I'm not tighty whities. He's like, put some clothes on. It just randomly it's just randomly there. It wasn't like there was in a situation that called for that, you know? And that's what I loved about that. I just thought that was so funny. And I will say, there's a lot of humor throughout the movie and stuff, and I will say, like, everybody does have their A game. Like, there is not really a bad one. I will say, the only thing I don't really like about the movie, there's stuff I don't like about the movie. Like, for instance, I don't like Peter Capaldi's character, the Thinker. I just feel like he's an annoying henchman villain. He doesn't really have a motivation. I mean, he has motivation, but he doesn't have a lot of complexity throughout the story. Like, when you're watching the script, I feel like could have improved on his character, because he just feels like he just does whatever the heroes or the protagonists tell him to do. And then he does it, and then without question, and there was a funny scene with him though in the movie that I got a good chuckle out of. But like, he really just plays like this character is just like, okay, you're just gonna beat me up and do whatever because I'm just like the throw around goon, you know. That's when, rather than like a villain. And I will say, between that and I will say, like, I did not like that, you know, there are some characters that they just bring in, you know, they become important and then they just throw them away, like. And I understand but it feels like just for shock and awe value, and I feel like you gotta earn these moments. Like, I feel like there's one character that, like, they just kill off completely, and I'm just like, he had a great arc, why would you do that? There's even characters that were, like, dumb in this movie, but in this movie, they're like, they have a great motivation, a great arc, and then it just ends. And I'm like, why? They're so good. Why would you do that? Like, come on. I understand, like, everybody's like, don't get too attached. Yeah, I believe it, but I feel like they just killed it for just the sake of, like, okay, who's gonna kill her? It'd be funny, huh? You know, but I feel like it's still a good movie. It's a really strong and well-made movie. There are some stuff I don't like for instance, I didn't like that where it was like the beginning is the middle and the middle is the end. Like, they keep, like, you focus on this one team at the beginning of the movie, then it goes to another team, and then you get like a 3 days later, and then like 4 days later, and oh, 6 hours earlier, and oh, 10 minutes earlier, and I'm like, come on, just go just tell a chronicalized story. Don't go jump around like Pulp Fiction, you know, come on. But other than that, I mean, and there are some of my aunt, like, she watched and she said she got grossed out by the rats, and there's a scene where, like, involves an eyeball, and swimming in an eyeball, and I'm like, oh, she got grossed out by that, and I was like, I was like, I learned something. I'm like, I did not know eyeballs had water in them. I'm like, I did not know that. Like, I was so scratching my head, like, huh. You know, but the movie, all in all, it's a fun time to watch. I would not recommend you bring kids because it's really violent and they curse a lot in the movie. And there is some full frontal nudity, but that's like a blink and you miss it moment. If you're going to watch it, though, I mean, if you love, like, The Boys, or if you love the first film, I think you won't like this movie as much because it's more darker. It's not darker, but it's more, like, violent and it's more cursing and stuff like that. But I think it's a better, well-made movie. That's nothing against the original movie. It just felt like this one was more, like, that was toned down. This one's not toned down. They just go all for it, balls to the wall. And I will say, I enjoyed this movie from beginning to end. In fact, I'm probably going to go watch it again after this review. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it an A-. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to try to have a review for next week for Don't Breathe 2 and for Don't Breathe 1. And I might even do a review for the first Suicide Squad. I appreciate you all so much for watching, and thank you all. And hey, huge shout out to the Z Review. He's been helping me out, like, you know, on the editing and stuff, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. I owe you a lot. I can't wait to talk to you soon, man. And I just want to say thank you all to the subscribers, to everyone that keeps giving me a thumbs up and comments. I appreciate you all. And if you can, just give this video a thumbs up. Help the YouTube algorithm and fall down the rabbit hole for more. Thank you all.
Ratatouille, what do you got?
Bird.
Now it. Stay off the comm.